Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. It is your girl Shay Cherie, and today we are making this beautiful ear cuff. I'm coming to love these pieces because they're beautiful statement pieces to wear when you're dressing up or dressing down. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the materials you need, and then we'll go ahead and get started making it. For this project, you will need a bracelet mandrel, some flush cutter pliers, some curved chain nose pliers, some round nose pliers, and some chain nose pliers. You will also need a piece of 18 gauge wire cut to about 6 inches in length. We also have some 26 gauge wire. We have 4mm bicone beads and also 6mm rondelle beads. So the list is simple today. We're going to go ahead and get started with making the base of the ear cuff, and that will be this curved piece here. So that will be your 18 gauge wire. We're going to start by making the coils at both ends. Use your round nose pliers and line up the wire to the tippy top of the pliers because you want to make that inner loop as small as possible. Okay, and once you get to a certain point of wrapping, I find it more effective of taking my curved chain nose pliers and holding the coil that I've started and then bending the wire to coil more onto itself in place. I would say just be careful when you're using the chain nose pliers not to grip it too tight. It's easy to leave an indentation in your wire, which I already have, but that's okay. So I normally do a coil till about 3 rungs from the beginning of the coil down to the base wire. So we'll go ahead and repeat that on the other side. And make sure you're coiling in the same direction. Once you're done coiling, you can take your bracelet mandrel or anything round that you have handy to make the curve for your ear cuff. So I like to curve the base wire in the opposite direction that I did the coil. So the coils are coming in this way. I'm going to curve the base wire around the mandrel the other way, the opposite direction. So you're going to just wrap it around, and then I like to grab both ends, and then I just kind of shimmy it on the mandrel to help it hold its shape. All right, so here is our base. The next step, and why I didn't tell you the length of wire that you would need, is because for this ear cuff, you're going to have to lay out your pattern beforehand because it's hard to tell exactly how much length of wire you'll need. So you lay out the pattern beforehand and then you string it onto the 26 gauge wire, and then we'll use that to wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, lay out the pattern. The pattern is laid out and I didn't show you. So we start with a 6mm bead, then there's 5 of the bicone beads. So there's a single one, then there's a tri bead prong, and then another single one. So it's going to be 1, 5, 1, 5, and that's going to continue all the way through. And that's what we've got here. So I'm going to go ahead and string these onto my 26 gauge wire, and then we'll get started wrapping. All right, I've got the beads loaded onto my wire and we are ready to begin wrapping. So I'll just slide these down for the moment, move them out of the way a little bit. So you are going to start at one end of your cuff with the base wire. What I do is give myself a little bit of leeway, so I leave a little tail of the 26 gauge wire and I hold it against the coil just for some leverage while I'm doing the first wraps. It'll help it not to move too much. So again, I hold the wire to my coil and start wrapping. And of course, you want to wrap as tightly and as close together as possible to make sure you have enough room to fit your full desired pattern. Okay, so we've got a couple of wraps started, so I'm gonna push this down to the base as far as it will go. Actually, I'm gonna wrap it a few more times. Okay, that's good. Let me move this out of the way because I will be measuring the length of wire that I'm using for each step. So the first one is a 6mm bead. What I like to do is stagger them at different lengths just to give it some more visual interest. So I'm going to slide down a 6mm bead. And what I'm going to do is use my handy dandy board here. And this one I will measure about 1.5 inches to where I want the fold to be. Roundabout, it doesn't have to be exact, of course. All right, so once you've got that fold in place, what I do is hold the wire together and wrap it around a couple more times just so it can be held in place while I'm twisting this piece. So you're gonna pinch your wire here, make sure you're wrapping it around in the same direction that you previously wrapped, just to keep it all uniform. Okay, we've got that wrapped a couple of times. So once you've got that wrapped, you can hold on to this piece. If you want, you can be particular and try to hold it so that it's evenly spaced when you're twisting. I find that doesn't always work well for me, so I just twist it and let the bead lay however it's gonna fall. So you'll just twist, twist, twist. And just be careful when you get to a certain point. You don't want to twist it too tight. This is 26 gauge wire and it's very thin, so if you twist it too hard, it may break off. So just be careful as you're getting closer to the bead that you don't twist too much. All right, so that is our first, I don't know what I want to call this, first prong. We'll go with that for now. All right, so we'll continue wrapping. If you want, you can count the number of wraps so that you can be evenly spaced all around. I normally just eyeball it. Okay, we're gonna go with that. So the next piece of the pattern is the single bicone. And we did 1.5 inches for this piece, so I'm going to do 1 inch fold for this one. Okay. And again, you want to pinch to hold your bead in place. Wrap your wire around a couple of times. Wrap it around the base a couple of times to hold your position. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and twist this one as well. You will find it helpful as you're twisting the next piece to hold the previous piece in place. This will help you when you get to the end so that they're not going all wacky. They're all pretty much in line. Trust me, I learned that the hard way. All right, so we've got that piece in place, excuse me. All right, so we're gonna wrap a few more times and then move on to the tri bead. Okay, that spacing looks good. So You will probably get kinks in your wire from all the twisting. It's all right. Just go ahead and try to straighten it out with your fingers. If not, use some pliers. Yeah, you'll have to work out the kinks. All right, so I'm moving down 3 of the bicones this time. So we had 1.5 inches, 1 inch. I think I'm going to go 1.5 inches with this as well. So I'm going to put the middle bead at about 1.5 inches. Fold that down. Hold your beads in place. This can be a little challenging. All right, here we go. Okay, so hold those in place and wrap a couple of times. And with this one, if you want to help it sit a certain way, I normally just hold these 2 at the top, and then I do a little bit of twisting at the top to set these in place while I'm holding the rest of the wire. And that will set them so that they're not flopping around, and then you can keep twisting for the whole wire. And that leaves them sitting pretty. Oh, I forgot, you'd want to be holding the previous ones in place too while you're twisting if you can, just so at the end they can be more aligned. And you're going to have to adjust as you go along as well. Okay, one more piece to the pattern. And we're going to do the last bicone in this set. And again, the single bicones I'm measuring at 1 inch. All right, so this is the first part of the pattern. So this is just going to repeat all the way around. So we'll next go into another 6 millimeter bead, and then the 5 bicone beads. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this pattern, and I'll come back to show you how to finish it off. We are now on the last twist of our ear cuff, and once you finish the last twist, you're just going to keep wrapping your wire until you get to the base of the coil. And you can't go any further. You want to put your flush cutter pliers, cut it as close as possible, but you're probably still going to want to take your chain nose pliers and tuck that tail as close to the wire as possible, because this is going to be sitting on somebody's ear and you don't want it to be scratching their skin. So be mindful of where you cut the wire and also tuck it in. And if you want, you can also file it down so it's not as sharp. I do have some mini files, but I'll probably do that off camera. Okay, so we've got the one end tucked, and we have to go back to the beginning and tuck in our tail that we left. Okay, that's good. It's close enough to the coil. Okay, so even with holding the twist as I'm doing the next twist, it still kind of ends up a little bit wonky. So you will have to reshape it and maneuver and put them where you want them to be so they're all in the same direction. Also, you'll see I kind of straightened out my curve a little bit. That is an easy fix. You can just put it back around your bracelet mandrel and recurve it, recurl it. And again, just finagle until you get it to where you want it to be. And it'll also probably be easier once it's actually on your ear and laying against your head for it to stay stable. Except this piece doesn't want to. Okay, there we go. And let me grab my silicone ear so you can see how it will sit. And of course you can adjust it to your ear as you see fit. And that is the finished product. So of course, if you found some value in this video, learned something, please leave a comment down below, like, share, and subscribe. And let me know if you try to make this on your own as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.